underestimate
the power
of a single
conversation.
It could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
conversations that matter.
Thanks for tuning into INCRadio Chatline, the place to have conversations that matter. I'm Erica from London, and today we're going to dive into something that I think a lot of us experience nowadays, which is burnout. That sounded a bit more exciting than it was supposed to be. But, as a reminder, everyone who is tuning in right now, we are not licensed medical professionals, and this broadcast does not serve as a, substitute for seeking professional help. We're only sharing our experiences and what we've personally encountered. So we're hoping you can also share with us your stories. With me to have our talk today, we have Lionel and Melvi. Thanks for joining us. Can you, please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lionel, and I am from the United States here in California, good old Southern California.
Hi, everyone. I am Melvi Tamayo, and good to be back here again on Chatline. And I'm from Central Valley, California, here in the city of Visalia. Super excited for our topic today.
I am excited as well. And it sounded very, very cheerful earlier. But just, saying thank you again for being with us. And also, I realized, wow, both of you are from California. So, I need someone from Europe right now. So it's like 2 and 2. But as mentioned, the topic is about burnout. Have you ever experienced burnout, or do you know anyone who's experienced burnout, and what is your definition of it?
Well, for me, honestly, I have indeed, or sometimes I feel like it's a continuous burnout here and there. And I do catch myself sometimes because I am very much self-aware in terms of the patterns or the behavioral patterns that change within me. For example, lack of motivation, lack of sleep. What else? Lack of energy, for example. So, when I experience that personally and I catch myself right away, then I would again try my best to acknowledge it and do something about it. And for others, on the other hand, when I do catch them feeling the same type of feeling that I do, I also encourage them to take care of themselves and be aware that it's okay to experience it, but not okay to a point when you're already, let's say, forgetting about yourself and you're physically drained, for example, and you find yourself, kind of sad at some point, or you don't want to do things that you used to do. You know what I mean? So it's a really sensitive kind of topic to talk about other people, especially when they're so accustomed to doing things all the time. Like myself, the only time I would definitely stop and pause is when I can no longer function or I get sick. So, how about you? How about you, Lionel or Erica? Have you experienced that sort of feeling I have maybe, or is it just me perhaps?
I was definitely agreeing with you behind the scenes, because as people that have a lot of responsibilities, right? Like we have different tasks in our everyday lives. We have different routines as well. Each of us have our own, let's say, path. Okay. And the mere fact that you've actually mentioned that you acknowledge feeling, burnt out, that's already one step. And I can tell that I haven't met anyone yet that hasn't experienced something like that, like burnt out, right? Or burnout, sorry, being burnt out or burnout itself. And my understanding of it, it's literally what you just mentioned, Melvi. And, you know, in simple words, it's feeling that exhaustion. But you know how we say that we try to describe each feeling because they're actually different levels, right? So,
Mhm.
in simple words, I say exhaustion because it's the first thing that you think about when it comes to burnout. But of course, there's like different facets about it. And how how could you tell, right, Lionel?
Yeah, burnout. Well, so going through university and college, it's something that me and my classmates have sort of at a point we've all experienced because you going through 4 to 5ish years of like learning and constantly like struggling, like for for example, like the first, I say 2 years, 2 3 years when I was in university, was taking classes year round, including summer classes, winter classes, just trying to rush and get that degree as soon as possible and try to, graduate as soon as I can. And then about like around 2 years in, that's when I started to feel like, okay, this is starting to burn me out. But it wasn't like an immediate realization that, oh, I'm burnt out. Um, it was more of like a gradual thing. Like when, like I remember one semester I was talking with some of my friends, like, man, maybe this major isn't for me because I'm struggling quite a bit. And yeah, burnout is a thing that all of us do experience.
You know, you just mentioned something relatable because when it comes to uni, we say uni year. Made me Google. But it's something relatable because all of us have been students and actually we're students of life. So every day we get to learn something and we get to experience different things that sometimes make us feel overwhelmed. And what I can say, how can you tell that, you know, you feel or you find yourself burnt out, right? Because from my understanding, I said one of the symptoms or like one of the things that I notice is that I'm exhausted. But I don't know if you can relate. Sometimes when when I feel burnt out is when I just start crying out of nowhere. And it's just something that I can't stop. And not because I'm sad or anything. It's just like my body like saying I'm tired and I just start crying. Because I did experience that and I was actually surprised. I'm pretty much a person that I don't know if you can tell. I'm very cheerful, like all smiley and stuff. And when it comes to like, you know, facing challenges and difficulties, I try to, you know, like not really show it because as much as we all face difficulties and different things in life, right? I try to, you know, always see the positive side of it. And that's why I don't really cry in front of people unless, you know, we're in a conversation where I feel very emotional and then that's where I start crying. But when it comes to feeling burnt out, I realized that there were times where I would just like start crying. And it's something that I would not even expect because you know how okay, adulting 101 is when you think I can handle it, right? And then you just keep going, but then the level of where you are physically and where you are mentally, sometimes they're not in sync. And that's why, as you mentioned, Melvi, we get sick, right? And that's like one of the examples, I guess. But as mentioned, we're not specialists. So, you know, just a reminder for everybody who's tuned into INC radio right now. But to some degree, we might have, you know, suspected that we have burnout. We've been talking about how we were presented with the situation, right? Like how we experienced it. But was it ever like pointed out to you by someone else? Was it ever like have you ever experienced burnout without realizing that it was actually burnout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Both of your questions, yes and yes. It was brought out to my attention because they started noticing that I've been getting sick more often, number one. And number two, I caught myself on top of that because I feel like I was a machine that's malfunctioning. I started committing more mistakes. I started forgetting things. I feel like sometimes when I'm speaking to people, it's a blur, or I'm not completing, for some reason I'm not comprehending my sentences apparently. And so when it was brought out to my attention, I had to take a pause. And then secondly, just like Erica's experience of just out of nowhere, an emotional burst exploded on me. And I experienced just crying out of nowhere because I told myself, what is happening? Why does it feel like I'm the only one experiencing this? So I would just cry like you, Erica. I would just cry out of nowhere. I love helping people. I love doing so many responsibilities. I like keeping myself busy. But little did I know that I by doing so, I was completely putting myself, I guess you can say, in a danger here and there because I was forgetting myself. I don't know how to say no. I have trouble doing that in the past. Now I'm learning to better my life by not exerting so much energy on one project, then another one on top of. I feel like they're just constantly overlapping one after another. So then when that happens, I would again reset, take a pause, and reflect on how my behaviors are, because I don't want to feel those kinds of emotions. I too am a very positive person. I love to laugh. I love to smile. And it's what keeps us young, I guess, you know?
I definitely agree with that.
Smiling is so much better than crying or being sad, right? The
And
muscles we use for smiling.
I was gonna say, trivia, or like, FYI, inserting this comment, if you smile, it's better for you, because if you frown, then you're gonna have lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And you attract more people that way. People would gear more towards talking to you. They're going to be open to conversations, like us, for example. So, but we experienced, various problems, and burnout is definitely one of them because, coming from, I'm going to share with you a short story. Coming from an island life, I did not expect that once we moved, or my family and I moved here in California, all I heard was go, 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 go. Let's go do this, do that, deadline here and there. And I said, wait, I'm not used to this. Hold on. But I had to adapt. I had no choice but to kind of go along with the flow. But we still need to make some adjustments in our lives because we have to prioritize. Again, it's important. I think we had this kind of comment or discussion back. I don't remember what the topic was, but it's also important to care for ourselves. We don't mean to be selfish, but we also need to be mindful of our behaviors and what it is that we intend to fulfill in our lives, so our lives can also be fulfilling to the extent, and also continue to help others without having to think of all these negative things and feeling burnout. And it's very impactful to a point that when you're so moody that you don't even mean to scream at someone. I don't know about you, but when somebody happens to just be in your way and you're so moody because you're so burnt out that you end up, for some reason, taking it out on that person without realizing it sometimes. I don't know if you've experienced that, but let me know. And I feel so bad when that happens, whether if it's at work or a family member or even a friend. And the first thing is I would snap out of it and say, I am so sorry. I don't mean to do that. And then they would now remind me, do you realize why are you behaving that way? It's because you're doing X, Y, and Z. And then you're still doing ABC, and then you're still doing da 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 da. So, you have to pick and choose. And sometimes when you're picking and choosing, it hurts too, because you're like, I don't want to let anything go. I just want to do all of them right. I don't know. Have you guys felt that way where you have to choose and you feel so bad, but then you realize that when you do choose and you prioritize what needs to be done first, then you feel so much better.
I mean, throughout you sharing your experience, I felt called out throughout. I was reacting, and I could see Lionel reacting as well. I definitely agree. I remember that topic as well. I was there. I really remember it, and I definitely agree. But like, man, we're gonna laugh about it. Wait a second. Okay, I'm done. I'm over it. Because I feel like Lionel wants to share first, because if I start talking, it's gonna be the end of the show.
No, this is good. This is you guys have a lot to say. I mean, like, for me, the only thing I can really contribute is, like, I agree with Melvi, like the whole cynicism aspect, like the negative emotions start to surface. Like, we all try to be happy, bubbly people, so then that way we live happier lives. But like being burnt out, like all the built up stress, kind of we end up sort of lashing out at people that obviously did not deserve it, and like trying to figure out, like, prioritizing which one we want to, like, prioritize. It's a tough thing to do, and I commend you guys for it.
But you just mentioned, like, lashing out and trying to prioritize. I was thinking about it actually, because sometimes, earlier we were talking about, was it ever pointed out to you? And Melvi said yes. I had a similar experience where I didn't know I was burnt out, and I didn't feel it because I got used to having a certain routine, like having back-to-back things to do, that it felt normal. And that's why when you react in a certain way, when you lash out, unexpectedly, because sometimes it happens, and I'm not saying that as an excuse, we're humans, but what I love about what Melvi has pointed out is that you apologize because you realize that what you did was wrong. And it's something that sometimes is hard to do, maybe for some people, but maybe because they're shy about it, like they're ashamed of what they did, because that sometimes can happen. But like having a supportive system where they actually know you sometimes better than yourself, like the way I was saying, and they're there to support you and to remind you of these things, especially, like, feeling that burnt out. Okay, I was going through with the conversation, and I don't know if I'm still in the topic now.
Yeah, we're still talking about burnout.
Yeah, but like I wanted to add up on what I was thinking during the beginning of our conversation about burnout, which is, what is the difference for you, or like what difference does it make when it comes to someone that feels just tired or exhausted, right? And someone that is feeling burnt out. Did I ask the question correctly? Does that make sense? Wait, let me rephrase it. There you go. I know, because
It has
I
like
was
5
trying
different
to. I was
languages
trying
in
to.
your mind.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Lionel.
Different
You understand
emojis.
me. No, because okay, just FYI, sometimes I think in Italian, so I'm like trying to translate it, and I'm like, is that like grammatically correct? So, simply put, is, what is something that you think makes it difficult to understand whether you are feeling just tired or exhausted, or you're really experiencing burnout? Because me, at the beginning, the first time I felt burnt out was when it was pointed out to me. I didn't even know. And I was, I guess, young enough. I'm still young, but yeah, younger. I was younger when I pointed out that. So, what do you think? Because right now I have a bunch of, things that I want to say, but let's give the floor to Lionel, since we've been talking a lot, Melvi.
I know, I've been enjoying this conversation. Just wow,
Just
all
saying
these like other experiences. I think for me, uh, I guess also to answer a previous question that would lead into this question was if it was pointed out to me. I think for me, it was when like like what you said, Erica, is that we got so used to a routine or a schedule of busy, 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 that finally when the time of like, oh, there's like a gap of time where I'm not busy at all, that's when it sort of like started, it came crashing in where like, man, I'm tired. Man, I don't want to do anything. It's just everything sucks. Right? Like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? All that stuff. And like the cynicism, the exhaustion started settling in. And that's where I was like, I was literally just not on I wasn't sitting on my bed. I was sitting on the floor next to my bed. I was like, man, I think I'm burned out. Cause it was something that, like I said, like we all try to be happy and like bubbly and all that stuff. That it kind of like dawned on me like, oh, like started doing a bit of a self-reflection. Like I had enough time to do self-reflection to sort of realign with the emotions and all that. And so I thought like, oh, I might not, I probably don't usually like snap at someone or like, or maybe might have said something a little rude when normally I don't say it like that and stuff like that. And that's when I realized like, maybe I am a little burnt out.
I know I gotta cut you there. Like politely butting in because I've never seen you rude to anybody or like burnt out. Every time I hang out with you, you're so chill. And I feel like I've never seen that side of you.
Like I said, this happened years ago. Like this whole situation happened years ago when I had school on top of personal life, on top of friendships, on top of church, and on top of, you know, any other thing and all that, and the stresses that come with basically living life. And I guess what makes it hard to see, going into the question that was asked, what makes it hard to see that we're burnt out versus just tired is, I think, our emotional state, how we felt about our interactions of the day, how we felt about what we did today. Because, you know, if we go, you know, like take a rest at the end of the day when you go to bed, and we think like, man, today was fun, and today was like, you know, net positive on the emotional scale. And I think then, but then like, we're, even though that our body is exhausted at the end of the day, but if like the on the emotional scale we are net positive, then, you know, I think that for me that's just us being tired. But once we sort of reflect on our emotions, that at the end of the day it started to become a bit of a net negative. That's maybe when we can tell when it starts to become burnout rather than just tired.
Well, for me personally, it finally dawned on me that I was feeling burnt out when it was my first time to think, oh, I'm just tired today. I think a good night's rest would do. Let me sleep for a good 10 hours and see what happens. Next day I wake up, 10 hours of good sleep. I would think I would be motivated. I would be happy. I will be fulfilled. That same day, did what I did, routine, just like you guys, routine after routine, do, you know, all your busy stuff, whatever, throughout the day, throughout the week, 7 days a week, right? 24 hours a day, almost. No, not really 24 hours because we still have to sleep. So I said, okay, maybe I need another night of good rest. Second night, third night, nothing. No difference. Wide awakening for me the third time because I said, come on, Melvi. 10 hours, 3 nights in a row. You got to be in a great mood right now. Your face is supposed to be glowing in front of the mirror. What's going on? And I said, well, I sat, and just like you, Lionel, next to my bed, not on my bed, reflected. looked up and rewinded literally what I've been doing wrong. And I said, wow, this is many years of catching up. It's not 3 nights of resting and sleep for 10 hours, not going to do. So when you feel like you're burnt out, you can tell because you think you can catch up years of lack of sleep. At some point when I was going to school, full-time employee, full-time mom, full-time everything, right? Duties at church. I was averaging of sleep of 2 to 3 hours per night. And I wasn't aware that, I mean, yeah, you when you're young, you think I have all the energy in the world, right? So I just kept going. And then by the time you hit your 30s, you're like, wait a minute, what is going on? What happened to my energy? Why am I all of a sudden depleted? Well, you look back and you say, well, you know, Melby, you can't catch up but years and years of lack of rest and sleep in 3 nights in a row. You got to do better than that. So that's for me the difference between just tired versus burnt out. That was my red flag all over the place. And so now when I feel like now I'm so much better that when I notice it within a week, then I would do something about it already and not have to play catch up every time. What about you, Erica? Have you ever?
I wanted to actually like add up because you know how you mentioned that you knew already the difference between burnt out and feeling just tired.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't. And what you just mentioned, it's so true because when I was in uni, when I was in like middle school and high school, I would, like pull all-nighters.
Yeah.
I would, like have back-to-back. There was like one time I've also experienced this is really not healthy. So I'm just saying like what I experienced and what I've done like in my early years. But there was like a time where I didn't really sleep for like maybe like almost 2 days. And I didn't feel it up until like, like I literally knocked out on the bed and I was like sleeping, right? I didn't know the difference because I thought that feeling just tired, like all those experiences, right? That pile up when you're an adult. You don't feel it when you're young, yes, but you're going to feel it now. I mean, I didn't feel it when I was like younger, and now I feel it. And it totally makes sense because what you've mentioned that you can't make up those years within 3 days, right? And for me, another thing that makes it hard to differentiate feeling burnt out and feeling just tired is the mere fact that you have this busy routine that it feels so normal for you to feel the exhaustion, the physical exhaustion. So you're like, oh no, I'm just like tired. I just need like to nap, and then tomorrow it'll be okay. But then following day, you're still gonna feel like tired because it's not only having that proper rest for one night, but it's literally like having that constant break for you to make it up to what you've been feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like for me, for example, like initially because I didn't know what burnout was because I thought it was just like, oh, I'm just like exhausted. I'm just like tired. So initially I was just like, that was my mentality. That was my response to it. It was like, nah, it's nothing, It's like, nah, like I just need, to hang out with my friends. This is what I can tell you. I just need to hang out with my friends and chill. That was never chilling. That was like always, because I'm a very proactive and active person. So we'd always like move physically. So whether it be, I don't know, sports or, like just walking a lot. And that was not really rest, And I guess all of us respond differently to burnout. And I wonder how you responded the first time you felt it. Oh, Melvi, sorry.
Oh, my body just shut down on me. I have no control over it. My mind said go, 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 go. My body said no, 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 no. And therefore I had to sync the two and said, okay, Melvi, come on, snap out of this, snap out of it. You got to do something different because, living life to the fullest is also staying healthy. So when we feel burnt out, and the first time you already feel that, or even if you're doubting, even if you feel like maybe I do, maybe I don't, just do something about it, please, because you don't want to wait till it's too late. And stress. I mean, come on, right? Stress is just number one factor of feeling burnt out. And when we don't manage our time very well, and of course, when we're young, we're like, yes, and then let's go. Yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I was once like you, Erica. Go, 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 even with friends. And then by probably, I don't know, 11 p.m. or something, my friends would already tell me, why do you keep yawning? You're here, but you're not here. So that was my
You
hint.
just woke up.
Yeah, right? I'm just there
like-
looking a daze, smiling, but then I was not paying attention to what was going on around me.
Yeah.
So sad. I got called out. They're like, Melvi, what's going on with you? I mean, you used to be this, you used to be alert. You're in this conversation, but tonight is, we're not feeling the vibe here. What's going on? Are you okay? So when they start asking, are you okay? Or you're looking a bit pale, or your eyes look very, very tired. So there you go. Another different, level of exhaustion or over fatigue, I guess. So yeah, my friends, my really good friends call me out, definitely.
I love that we're surrounded by people that know us.
Yes.
Or they know us well enough to know that we are burnt out. And Lionel, you're one of them. But you never call me out. You actually helped me to feel more burnt out. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I
looks
hope
like
you're
we're
not
not gonna
feeling
hang
burnt
out
out while we're
anymore.
having this conversation.
Well, yeah,
Just
like
kidding.
all of these things, are symptoms of burnout, like the dissatisfaction of what we're doing, the sort of like the low commitment of like, oh, maybe I'll just sleep it off for 10 hours, and which causes us to sort of miss out on something, and which causes us to be absent on some things, and suddenly our friends will start noticing like, oh, we haven't seen so and so, like he hasn't hung out with us in a while, like, oh, they just went straight home. That those are also symptoms of burnout. Like that's what I've experienced again back when I was in uni, sister Erica, in uni, where like right after class I would just go straight home so I could like go take a quick nap, and then the nap ended up being like 2 or 3 hours, and then like the dissatisfaction, or not being satisfied with the work that I was doing at school, and trend like not doing so well in the subjects that I should be excelling in, because that it pertains to what I'm supposed to be studying for as my major. And all of these things I started getting like a bit, like I said, a little bit more irritable, um a bit more sick, a little bit of like muscle tension. I started to learn how to like, okay, drop the shoulders, relax a little, and like just breathe, being able to. Oh, and another thing was I was a bit of a light sleeper as well. That was one thing that I noticed when I was starting going through burnout. Like, yes, I would sleep for like, I would take naps for like 2 or 3 hours, and like, but it wouldn't be restful sleep, because like the stress is still built up that I haven't taken care of yet.
It's like you haven't slept at all.
Mhm.
I definitely agree. And also, like what you mentioned, I don't know if Melby can see me. I think she saw me. I was reacting to what you were saying because ouch, ouch, and ouch. I'm like, am I being called out right now? But it's like, okay, we've mentioned what burnt burnt out is, or being burnt out is for us, right? And like how we responded to it initially, because of course sometimes we don't realize that we feel burnt out, but at the same time, the signs that you've mentioned, Lionel, those are the usual ones that someone might be feeling when they are starting to feel burnt out. And you know what, it's like what um caught my attention was the fact that you were like sharing your uni experience, right? But then technically, that's when it usually starts, because I guess university is where we have more responsibilities besides being like beside being a full-time student, right? Because we have like more other things to do, and sometimes there's students that actually work while studying. But at the same time, now that we're, I guess, can we call ourselves adults? Yes, we are.
I like to think so.
Yeah, yes, I am. I don't know about you two.
Yes, we are. What would you do differently in the future then? After like us talking about feeling this burnt out. Because me personally, what I would do differently is sleep more. No, because like when you mentioned like feeling overwhelmed, that's one of the things that you mentioned. Like when you don't feel satisfied, or your commitment to something that you've always put as your goal, and you notice that although you put it as a goal and the deadline is near already, you're still not doing anything. That's when you should maybe like start thinking or have a closer observation on what's really going on, because maybe you feel like you're just tired and that's why you haven't really like thought about it thoroughly. But then there's like times where there's other signs of feeling burnt out, which is the physical one. And that's what that's the first thing that Melvi actually mentioned earlier, which is getting sick. It can have like different effects, which is like headaches, or having a cold and flu. That's me. Hypertension. Sometimes like you have those like muscle tensions as well. And there's times where you sleep, but technically you feel like you haven't slept at all. And whilst we are talking about this and you're thinking about it, even our listeners right now, right? What would you do differently in the future? You can also write it down in a paper, or like put it in your phone so that you can be reminded, because sometimes we just need that little message where we can be like, oh, I've been through this. What is a little step, or the first step that I can do to not go back to it, or do things differently, right?
Right now, for me, well, I've been doing it for quite some time now, ever since I've acknowledged it years ago. Because I want to stay healthy, I want to stay active, and above all, I want to stay happy. So I have jotted down a couple of notes on my journal. I started journalizing. I also keep track of my sleep. Now, honestly, that's very hard for me to keep up because we're so busy. We're humans and we have so many responsibilities. But one thing that I have definitely changed is not taking naps for granted. When I was younger, my grandma was very, very strict with us when it came to nap time before we even get a chance to play outside. Well, I never listened to her. I don't take naps. I don't know naps. I disregarded it. So now,
Naps are now sacred.
yes, now I just need 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you can actually function for the next 4 hours. Believe it or not, 15 minutes is all you need. So just take a break. And if when you're working, there are times, unfortunately, I still take breaks for granted. So I don't take a break. Now, when I'm so stressed out, I go for a walk. And believe this or not, in Central Valley, it's definitely scorching heat over here. Right now it's 100, I don't know, I think 108 degrees or something outside, but at work, mornings, I do my best or do my diligence to walk at least 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, even with my umbrella, because it's hot, and have my sunscreen on. So I've made changes, in other words, in my daily activities. And if I can't sleep at night, what I do is I do also, I do my best to work out or do a routine either early in the morning or in the afternoon so I can have a good night's rest at night, or read a book. So those three things: naps, no, actually four: naps, good night's rest, reading a book, exercise, and of course also diet, like proper nutrition, and stay
Yeah.
hydrated. What else? I don't know. I
Mhm.
think I'm naming a bunch of them
Hydrated.
already.
I love that. Stay hydrated,
Yes, right.
everybody. That's like one of the top like advices or reminders, friendly reminders that we can give you. We need
Speaking of
water.
which,
Because
We
we need
really
to, what is it? What did they say? Like feed your brain or make your brain function better so your whole body can do the same and follow, right? I think there's a saying. I forgot what it is. But anyway,
No,
but
but you,
yes.
I love it. I love your experience and your tips actually, or like the steps that
Yeah.
you've applied.
Besides, who knows our bodies better than we do? So we know what we need.
Exactly.
We just need to take action. You
It's
can't just
just
sit
that
there and think, and nothing.
I was thinking, wow, I can think. Yeah, I was really thinking, like, while you were sharing everything, right, that you previously mentioned, is that not only you took steps that were just on a physical level, but also you took steps that would entail emotional and, like mental health, right? So it's like you checking out every aspect of yourself, right? Right?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
and yeah, and sometimes it's good to sort of take a step back and assess. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but to step back and sort of assess what's going on in our lives. Um, Self-reflection is such an important aspect of recognizing whether we're tired or that if we're just burnt out, because it'll allow us to sort of it's like to find the root cause of the problem. Because I don't know about what went through your minds when we were going through burnout, but the thoughts ended up being a bit more negative. They started to be a little not degrading, but more of like we start to like put ourselves down a little. Like, oh, maybe I can't do this. The negative words start seeping into like what we're thinking about. How about you? Let's Melvi. What what were some specific thoughts that came to mind during your periods of burnout? Like, what was the self talk? What did the self talk sound like?
That I didn't deserve to have this thinking of self sabotage because I don't deserve it and I deserve better than this. So I, I'm one to, like what you mentioned, Lionel, reflect. I love to reflect. And when I reflect internal, external. What are these factors that are definitely affecting my life right now? And I need to take them seriously because, as I mentioned before, I am no longer just accountable for my own life, but the life of others around me. And another person is also depending on me. And I too still want to experience that life with another person. So, in order for me to share a good life with other people, I need to take care of me. So, that definitely set one of those setting attitude that I had to definitely dig in deep in my heart. What is it that I really, really want to overcome? And what are these actions that I need to do now so I can have a better tomorrow? Otherwise, if I don't take or initiate that first action, then by all means, I'm here. All these negative things will continue to invade my thoughts. And I don't want that. I refuse to have these negative thinking or negative thoughts invade my mind. So it was hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. It's not easy to start a new routine. It's not easy to learn different kinds of behaviors towards a better life, but it's not impossible. I always tell these to people when I encourage them or when they also share their own thoughts and ideas or even their own burdens in their lives. And I always tell them there is no new sets of behaviors that we cannot learn unless we're not willing to do so. As long as you're willing to make the changes within yourself, because we have to start it within us. No one else can do that for us. That's number one, right? No one, just us. So we have to make that choice and be determined in order for our lives to be, a ray of sunshine if we want to be, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Like,
I always look at it. Like, okay, if you want to be one of those gray clouds or a thunderstorm or all these, I don't know. Sometimes I just think or connotates or do metaphors in my head, and I'm visualizing my life like a complete mess. The visual itself, I'm already discouraged. So I said, no. I can't have that in my life. I don't want that in my life. So one thing that really, really helped me was actually either draw or journalize. And I also have reminders on my phone. As a matter of fact, every now and then my watch would tell me, "Hey, gorgeous, have a nice day today." Don't think negative or something like that. Any kind of reminder, because as human beings, we tend to make mistakes. We get carried away with our emotions, but we are also in control of our internal selves, right? So again, it's a matter of choice. At the end of the day, what would you choose? Would you rather feed your negative thinking or your positive thinking to make your life so much better? That's me. That's me sharing my experiences with you. Like I said, it was never easy. It took me, but like what you mentioned before, Lionel, just do it one step at a time. Like learning a new dance move, right? Or learning a new tune or a new song, and you're just taking it, one step at a time until you get to where you need to be and accomplish that. So, yeah. I don't know. You guys are making me talk too much.
No, it's not that. It's not. You were talking, and I was like, the first thing you said was your self-talk, and I was thinking, man, when it comes to my self-talk, I'm just like plainly negative, and I'm being real in a way where I'm not saying that I was just like putting myself down. It was more on feeling like I don't deserve what I look forward to achieve, or the mere fact that sometimes I just felt so tired that I'd be thinking, what's the point? Right? Or there'd be like times where you're like, why am I even doing this? But then that sparks the thought of, why are you doing this? It's like it flips to the side where you get reminded why you started in the first place. And that makes you think, oh, yes, because of this, and this. And how this is like a personal experience, like how I treated myself, like, mentally, emotional, and physically. I actually would restrain myself because in my way of thinking was pretty much like me not feeling like I deserve things, and that's why I would shut everything that would actually bring me out of this like status. Does that make sense? But one thing really was in my mind while you were talking, Melvi, and it was people that surround you. Because honestly, I just remember like one of the hardest like one of the hardest periods of my life was when my dad passed away. There was like it was hard, but at the same time, it's like it's a new thing, right? Grieving, especially like losing someone who's been there ever since you were born. So thinking about the fact that I felt like I was in a place where I could not go anywhere like, lower than that. So I'm just like very grateful for the ones that were there for me in a way where you know, when you were mentioning about messages or like little reminders that you had, even like for your journal, right? I had people checking up on me every time, even without me asking. And that was like one of the things that made me go onwards as well. Like one of those things that were like, okay, let's, get up from the bed and start, especially because it was pandemic. So, it's like those things where you just like think about, wow, I'm supposed to be the one, you know, I was supposed to be the one that had to be strong. And yet I find myself not helping myself, right? I'm putting myself in a position where I'm just trapping myself in this situation where I feel burnt out and I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm just like trying to remain in that and that and that position. And yet there's like people that know you, people that love you, and they're the ones that, notice that you're out of character because not only like they point out things, not in a way that's like they're accusing you of doing these things, but they just notice the little things. And also when I say they made these like lovely reminders, it's also when you don't expect it. It's like when you feel like it's just a no day, and then you just receive this message where you're just like crying because of the message. Like I can give you like an example. I had like, I don't know, I remember like sending, I don't know, I was like scrolling through like galleries, right? And I sent this photo of our family with, family friends, and they literally said something that made me cry, which was, we miss your dad too, and please send our regards to your family. And then they just said this, which up until now I keep it to remind myself, which was, keep spreading the joy that you keep giving to others. And that was like one of the moments where I just felt sad, and that's it. So, and also like other messages where you haven't done anything, like literally anything, you haven't achieved anything at the moment, like any little achievement or like goals that you've set and that your friends know or like your loved ones know, but just a message out of nowhere saying, I'm proud of you, I love you, those are the things that also count. And I know we're talking about, a closer like self reflection, right? But at the same time, when you are at the point where you're self reflecting and that's not helping you, somehow the ambience where you are at, the people that surround you, sometimes those people are are the instrument, right? Are the way for you to actually feel better, or like in a way that um you get to actually self reflect in a way that that the way you're thinking should be different, and that you just have to turn it around like 360. I did not mean to cry or make this topic longer, but I really like this. I really like this topic, when it comes to burnout, because everybody has different experiences. Everybody can recall how they felt this, this physical like exhaustion, I guess. But I'll let you continue.
Lionel, do you have anything else to say?
Um, there's one thing that Erica mentioned was inspiration. And I think to close off this segment, one thing that I guess a thought that came to mind was, if we're not going to do it for ourselves, do it for the ones that love us. Because they are also the ones who will be affected by what we do.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to say is that our actions have reactions. They have not necessarily repercussions, but what we do affects other people, whether directly or indirectly. Um, and like it's something that we've mentioned throughout this whole show is that taking the time to pause and assess what's going on in our life, like a little check-in with ourselves. You know how we're supposed to go to the dentist like what,
Every
twice
six.
a year,
Yeah.
or doctor once a year or something. Let um let's also take time to set an appointment with ourselves, check in on ourselves, because no other person can know what's going on up here other than us, right? And it's, making sure that we, take a look at also what causes the burnout. We throughout this whole show we've talked about the workload, not being able to control something, um, probably not we're not rewarding ourselves enough for the little things, and where we are physically and mentally within our community, with our friends, with our loved ones, and making sure that we're being fair to ourselves, and making sure that we know what our values are. Make sure that what our values are, and that we also value ourselves. And with that, Erica?
Wow, it's like okay, you're going deep there, Lionel, and I love that. This topic discussion. I just love, I just love where this conversation is going, and I really do appreciate your time and you sharing your experiences. Not only you, Melvi, you, Lionel, and but also everybody in the team live chat. Thank you so much for opening up and sharing your stories. And that shows actually like how like your vulnerability, because I just cried. Okay. Which I didn't mean to. But unfortunately, INC Radio Chatline is only for an hour, and time really flies, Melvi. Lionel, like I think we really got into a good start of this topic discussion, that we just like kept sharing everything, and I hope that you know it helped a little bit, even though as mentioned we're not professionals, but hopefully you feel like a little bit better. And also, because we're not done with our topic discussion, I know we talked about how we perceive burnout, what is burnout for us, but also we just started with this topic discussion, right, Melvi, right,
Yeah.
Lionel? Because not only we got to see the different signs, or like the initial like feelings that we might be having, whilst experiencing burnout, but also what Lionel and Melvi have emphasized, which is self reflection, the importance of self reflection, but also, that little help that comes from outside too. And those are like the first steps that I guess would help us, right? To go on the right track when it comes to going out of this burnt out zone, right? So again, thank you so much for joining us. To all of our listeners, we really do hope that you have somewhere to start, right? When it comes to working through these periods of burnout. But as mentioned, we gotta say our goodbyes, Melvi, Lionel, sadly. So I'll give you a little time for your greetings.
Hello to all my family and friends out there, and hopefully you enjoy this topic here on Chatline, and we hope to see you again next time.
Thank you everyone so much for watching. Man, like what Erica mentioned, it seems like we were just getting into this topic. I don't know, maybe we should do a part 2 to really dive even deeper.
Actually, Lionel, I was gonna say this. Join us next week because we have the continuation of this topic discussion. I know everybody can relate to it. So, thanks again for hanging out for our talk today. And we really do hope that this has been a conversation that mattered to you. Thank you, and greetings to everybody so that everybody is included in our greetings. See you next time, everybody, on INC Radio Chatline.
Bye.
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 This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I bring my last.